Welcome to the lecture on Heredocs. Let's look at an example of Heredocs. The strings example to Heredocs folder. So if you open the logical flow, we'll write a block of strings with Heredocs. The purpose of Heredocs is to display a block of strings. Okay, if you have a big content that you want to print onto the output, you don't want to encode it with multiple lines and all those things, you can use something called as Heredocs. We're going to look at the syntax, how you can write it. But the purpose of Heredocs is to print a block of strings. Okay, so part of this we will create heredocs.php file. So let's quickly create that. I save the file. So let's write that program to print a block of strings. So let's create some variable. I'm creating two variables, one is integer and one is strings. Then we will write a block of strings using Heredocs. Okay, so what is the syntax of an Heredocs? So syntax is, if you want to print something, you have to use 3 less than symbols. Okay, and then you can put a label to it. So you can say doc label. Okay, that is basically a label that you are saying, okay, I'm starting it from here. Okay, and this is symbol to say this is an Heredocs. Okay, and now you can start literally type anything that you want. This is an opening label, and then you have a closing label. The closing label is something like this. Okay, so you can close the label with a semicolon, and anything that you type here will be printed onto the output. Okay, you can write anything inside this. Okay, you can have double quotes, right? Anything. You can have the dot, then you can have single quotes, right? You can actually have any number of dots. Okay, doesn't really matter what you do. And I'm trying to print a variable here. $name knows how to write PHP. Okay, let's see whether the $name will be converted or not. Okay, and I'll do an operation here. I'll say $number 10 into $number into 10. I'm doing a multiplication here. So this will help you to see whether the multiplication works or not, and the string interpolation happens or not, and what happens to the dots that you're doing it here. Let's write a condition here, right? I'm seeing whether it has some effect or not, whether the condition is printed or basically the line itself is printed. Okay, I'll do an end of the line as well. I'll do some HTML as well. Let's see what happens. Okay, is this bold? Okay, and apart from variable, nothing will work. Okay, let's try to print that. Let's see whether it's true or not. Okay, let's print this out. So let's understand this. Okay, so your double quotes and then your dot doesn't really care. However, the variable substitution has happened, so variable interpolation is working, but the multiplication is not working. Even the conditions are not working. Even the PHP new lines are not working. And I believe if you print this out to an output, then you will see the strong there on the web page. But apart from variable, nothing will actually works in this. You can put any kind of operation inside this. No PHP code will actually work apart from the variable substitution. Okay, that's very important to understand. That's the reason we have done an multiplication operation here, just to see whether the multiplication should have done 10 into 10 into 100, but it doesn't really care about that. And this doesn't care about any condition, any semicolons, converting that constants into a value doesn't really care. Okay, so only thing that happens inside Heredocs is basically the variable substitution. That's what we saw here. Apart from that, everything is just a text to print on the output. Okay, so if you want to print something onto the output and doesn't really worry about what's inside that, whether you want to write a PHP code, you want to display anything that you want to do that doesn't affect your program, and you want to just consider them as a string, you want to print a string, then this is the logic how you write the here doc. You have to write 3 less than symbols, give a label to it, and close the label here. Okay, and whatever you write inside this, I'm not starting out with a double quote here. Even if you start with a double quote and with the double quotes, the double quotes will just print like that, right? It doesn't really care double quote, single quote, your operations, nothing is care in this. There's a nice block that is given from PHP for us to put anything inside this which we consider as a string to be printed onto the output. Okay, so play around with it. And if you here doc is mostly used for documentation purpose, wherein you open up the tag, close the tag, and then you put all the documentation logic here. Okay, it's like a string that you want to just print in the output. Okay, so that's the purpose of here doc, and that's how you write it. So that's all the lecture on here doc. Let's look at the next topic.